the problem is, you know, the main issue would be to follow up, to make sure that they're in compliance. You know, we've heard it earlier this evening that there are problems with grease trap ordinances.
Right.
You know, and that's an ordinance that's already in place. Something that we can't even handle right now, much less a date line. Okay, we've heard it earlier today that there's that code enforcement is something that we're going to start doing. Okay, why are we going to try to bring up an ordinance that we can't do right now? My suggestion would be to table the item agenda until we can iron out the issues, get our get our ducks in a row, employee-wise, in code compliance, then we can move forward. You know, if we have issues with tall grass right now, what makes you think that we can enforce 8-lighters? Something that
Let me suggest the appropriate response. We don't have the benefit of $2,000 for grease trap. We don't have the incentive for the inspection right now. It's not prepaid. And I totally agree with you, this probably needs to be tabled. And I like your idea of coupling grease traps with 8-liners, because that way we might get grease traps.
to my understanding, there's already a fee. You know, Andrew, you know, probably would be able to answer that a little bit better because, you know, I've heard him talking about, you know, sizing up a place with the correct size of grease trap. You know, so, I mean, obviously there's something in place that.
Currently, there is no fee for someone that's required to do that. You don't have even a fee for them to have an inspection. And we can take a little regret we're having this discussion in reference to what we need to bring it back to fine tune it. And we'll bring it back with all the ideas, and maybe in some of the blocks we'll talk about feet from a church or a school, but also we should have sometime in May our code enforcement people in place, as well as hopefully negotiate with Wilson County so that we can have health inspections in place so that we can have an enforcement on these trucks. Because enforcement is very important. But again, I have to agree with Councilman Leto when he says that we need something, because right now we have nothing. So if I wasn't somebody who had 8 lines, I come buy property, commercial, I could have 150, there's nothing you can say I can't do it. It doesn't stop to prohibit me, and I would have to pay you nothing, which is what we're doing right now, 0.
Well, I think that if they were going to do it, they would have done it already because there's places available for it, you know. But, you know, it's all just a matter of time, just like with anything else, you know, you're going to eventually step in a fire ant mound, you know. But, you know, we have to get our ducks in a row, get our stuff situated first, just like again, you know, Mr. Gonzalez came in here for issues with tall grass with his neighbors. You know, we have to be able to enforce those issues as well.
Okay, I recommend, in response to your colloquy, that we table this matter and bring it back with an ordinance that specifies the amount of money for the inspection on grease traps, as well as the amount of money to be charged for 8-liners, and that both items be considered together so that the revenue is there for both functions. I think you have a great idea.
I also feel that if for the existing, you know, 8-liners, at least, you know, have them the opportunity, because, you know, if there's already 2 places that they have 8-liners and they're not in compliance, there goes the revenue already, you know, because there's no way they're going to be able to move their 8-liners, you know, 2 more blocks from a church. You know, so you know, with that in play, you know, if you know, this comes back and is approved, to at least have them grandfathered,
We
you
can
know,
do that.
to you know, if that's even the correct term to use, but
No, it is.
anyways.
But I think it's appropriate that you raise the issue that those things that cost us money, particularly in the construction, building, development, retail business, they've got to pay their way. And what the manager's pointing out is we don't have a way to pay the way for the inspection on the grease trap, and yet that's a major detriment to the operation of the plant.
But that's been an issue also for years, not just something recent.
That's right.
And as far as the code compliance, that issue has been in existence even when we have.
That's right.
Let's give Ms. Turner a chance when she says she's gonna address them and get the situation under control.
Well, we can bring it back in May
We can bring it back in May.
or June, after everything's ready.
May, we should be ready in May. To do that, I don't want to push it back any further because code compliance is very important and to get these things going so we can start seeing results for, I mean, I would even like to look at, 12 inches for grass, 8 inches tall enough for me, but we'll be able to bring it back, that and couple with some other ones, so we definitely have to do that. But hefty fines on that grease trap because if we don't clean it up, it's going to cause us more issues at our sewer plant, so we definitely.
And all to do is, help us stay proactive on it, and if, anything does happen at one of these locations, at least we addressed it. If Mr. Herrera and his staff or whoever's involved have an addresser, and it slips by them, well, then it falls on their responsibility. If they're taking on this challenge, of making sure mandating that these places are compliant, so it's good. I mean, we're not inviting eight-liners into the city of Floresville, but we are gonna regulate them if they do come in, because we can't stop them.
And Madam Mayor, if I may, on the grease traps, for those of you that drive in San Antonio and look at their buses, SAWS has a large number of buses painted on the side to talk about the grease monster. And I'm not joshing you, they have a real problem of enforcing it. And so they've educated the public by painting on the side of the buses with all that fancy neon coloring, a grease monster, to emphasize the fact that grease traps for the SAWS system are a major, major, major issue for their plants. And their emphasis is invested in that advertising on the VIA system to get people to understand that grease traps at restaurants are a major problem for operating their plants and what comes down in your San Antonio River.
Yeah, I mean, if a business on 181 wants to sell you a taco for $3.50 and not dispose of their grease the proper way, then that's their problem, not ours.
So,
Taco was good.
Yeah, so if they're not disposing of their grease the proper way, we're paying for it. You got man hours down the street, always working on that grease flowing down the street. I mean, we've got to do something about it.
yes, sir.
Yeah.
I think that we wait and get it passed, then generate the funds, and then decide how that money's going to be used, because there's a bunch of issues that the city has.
Okay, I'd like to make them,
All I'm suggesting facetiously, Mayor,
Yes.
is that I agree that the unfunded mandate for the grease trap and the details of this can appropriately come together at a time where we can figure out how to use the money as Mr. Rodriguez has talked about.
Mr. Robles?
Yes, it seems like you already got your mindset on eight-liners, but if it's not stopping people from bringing more eight-liners and stuff, what about strip joints? Is there a ordinance in that too? What's stopping me from buying the White House and making a strip joint?
there is an ordinance, but it's,
I mean, I think we're just opening a big can of worms that waiting to happen. Everything should be no drugs, no strippers, no eight-liners, stuff like that. Clean up the place.
Give a motion.
I'm going to make a motion to table item 3A with the recommendations of our council to revamp it.
Okay, I have a motion to table by Councilman Rodriguez. Can I have a second?
I second the motion.
Second by Councilman Mitchell. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. 3-0. Now we're going to go on to item 3B, consideration and action to approve interlocal agreement with Moore County Officing.
Okay, Mayor, Council, y'all previously might have recalled the, Mr. Phillips that was here, presenting the copy software. The only thing we need from you guys now is blessings, and it's in reference to the interlocal agreement that we have, or we're gonna have with Moore County Sheriff's Department through a TLEX program. TLEX is the Texas Law Enforcement Telecommunications System, which authorizes us to use their database when we do get that software to run driver's license check, criminal history, vehicle checks, and a whole other 9 yards that involve with police investigations. And my understanding was Laura, when this was given to Laura, she asked for me to put it on the agenda for a CNA, which is consider an action from you guys. So that's why being brought up again.
Is there a reason why you would suggest Moore County over any of the other counties that already have the cop sync?
That is, the reason behind it, because they're the ones that operate the cop sync, and allows other agencies to operate off of them.
It's the main communication system, and so you have to have this agreement in place. This is a standard model template to put it in place to allow them to have an agreement with us to actually take care of our data and things like that. So they do it for cops. Everybody has to have this in order to do it. This is like our last step before we become law in reference to that. So we're really excited that it's moving forward.
They're the hosting agency, we'll call it.
My question is, why is this coming in after, not during the negotiations and they didn't approve it? Why
It
are
was
we not
replaced,
being told this?
it wasn't placed on the
And is
agenda.
there a charge for this?
No.
It'll be part
I'm
of-
sorry, as far as the charge, I shouldn't say no, I don't know, to be honest with you.
So we're
Probably
being asked,
somewhere along the dollar amount that we're charged for the software.
There's no separate fee for.
This is a fee. It's just a matter that you have, in order for one agency to work with another agency, you have to have an agreement in place. It's all part of the cop sync issue. What we were focusing on before was just the finances and actually saying that we're going to actually contract to start this process. This is just so that we can communicate with the hub, and we have an agreement that they will do our communications for us as they do for everybody else who actually is partners with cop sync itself. This is the last step. It's the last thing we need to have in place. I believe Monica got a call. We're about to get our new vehicle that we ordered that's going to have the cop sync information on it as well. I think that's about 3 weeks before we have a new car in place. So these are things that we are moving forward, that we started in potential, I guess, at the beginning of this fiscal year.
So correct me if I'm wrong, the term interlocal agreement is just basically standard for
It's
between
standard.
city and city.
It's just a simple agreement that they have to have in place, that they send to us. It was already in place. It was like, do this, do that. It's all part of this commissioner's housekeeping. There's no fee, anything associated. You've already paid the membership to that, so this is part of that process.
Just for the two counties to function together, I understand.
This is that we can talk to each other. Otherwise, they can't do our data. It's like we're being partnered with their license, because you have to have a license to state to run other people's license, and so they can't do it for everybody who they don't have an agreement with.
and has people reviewed this?
Legal has received it and said, according to Chris, that it is a template one for the standard. It has all the whereas and therefores that we need to have in the place.
Simple answer is yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
I like simple answers. Thank
That's
you.
for the record, Lou says that it's good to go.
I make a motion to approve the interlocal agreement with Moore County, COPSI.
I have a motion by Councilman Nieto. May I have a second?
Oh, second.
Second by Councilman Rodriguez. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, but it wasn't a CNA, so you said to
Right.
officially,
I have it.
we need to read it again.
Just approve it.
Now, the aprons are down here, so you have to come down to get Will to get the picture.
Do we have to buy a ticket first?
Will?
We'll put it in the
volunteer.
The agreement, it says where's my check?
Official cooks.
If we had an eight-liner to pay for this. You want to bring it the day of the meeting?
Being all right, it's better to be a half left.
Oh, yeah. We always have a lot of fun.
Make a motion to approve the proclamation of the Floresville Cowboy Breakfast.
I have a motion by Councilman Decker,
Second.
and second by Councilman Guerrero, on the proclamation for the Rosenberg and Roder Cowboy Breakfast. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 3-0. We adjourn this meeting at 9:38.